Who comes up with this stuff? No pain, no gain? I stubbed my toe last week and I didn't gain a thing. Maybe a few tears, but that's it. This is ridiculous. Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you've been following along for a while, then you know that we're going to get into something pretty interesting. But if you're new here, don't worry, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to be getting into the top 5 commonly preached advice in the fitness industry and see if it's overrated, properly rated, or underrated. But before we get into that, I just want to say that we now reached 700 subscribers, and I want to thank all of you for being here and just that you chose to subscribe to me. I really appreciate it, and I would love to keep going on these videos. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe. I'm sure that I can help you in some way. Make sure to comment any of your questions, and I will hopefully be able to make a video about it. But anyways, let's get into the video. Soreness after working out. Well, overrated. If you've never worked out at all in your life, or you just come back after being sick for a couple weeks, hope you're better. But if you come back and you notice that you're sore, well, then that's a normal thing. It's going to happen as for untrained lifters or just new lifters and people that come out after being sick or haven't trained after a couple weeks. It's normal, but it isn't something that you should be chasing. It's not a sign that you've had a productive workout because once you get used to training again, it probably will subside a little bit. You might have some days where maybe your nutrition was a little bit off and you're sore. That's a normal thing, but it isn't something you should chase because if you keep chasing it, you're probably going to keep digging yourself into this hole of just not being able to recover instead of just having actual good productive training that you're just used to, but you're still progressing in weight and reps. So you know that you're at least doing something right in your training. Volume over frequency. Overrated. We see so many guys saying more volume is more growth, or if you have a weak point, then throw more sets at it. And I just think this is a silly way of thinking. If we think about this just at bare minimum of what more volume is adding more sets or more workouts for a given muscle. And it's just a ton of just exercises for a muscle to hopefully make it grow because obviously more means better. And this is just not true. If we're looking at it, if you constantly are doing a ton of exercises for a certain muscle, it's not going to be able to recover as quickly for the next training day. You're just prolonging the amount of recovery you're going to actually need. No food can help you with that much volume. And so that's what we're seeing in frequent training when people do low volume, high intensity still, because I'm not going to say that more volume people don't have high intensity. They usually bring a good amount of intensity for their training. But for frequent training, it's low volume, still high intensity, but it's just more frequent. You're at that a level of volume where it's low enough where you can get a good amount of stimulus, but it's just enough so you can actually recover. So then in the next 2 days or 3 days, depending on your split, you hit it again and you get that exact amount of stimulus without just digging yourself into this hole that you can't recover again. Training to failure. Okay, this one's tough. I have a mixed opinion. So moderately rated. In my opinion, I think there's cases for both. There's cases you should be training to failure and there's cases you don't need to be. The more advanced lifter does not need to be always trained to failure. Beginners, I think they need to learn it because everyone's preaching reps and reserves lately. I myself have even talked about it, but it is super important when we're talking about upper, lower, and full body split because we're always trying to maximize on minimum fatigue and most stimulus possible. So that's when we talk about reps and reserve. But to learn reps in reserve, you need to know where failure is because that's all reps in reserves is. It's how many reps in reserve before you can't do another rep or you think you have 0 reps left in reserve. So if you've never trained to failure, then you don't really know or have this gauge of where that is. So there should be a good amount of time where you do train to failure because as a beginner, you're going to be able to recover quickly from that stuff and you can handle training to failure or that intense all the time. So it's actually kind of beneficial for you because you learn and you also get a great stimulus. So as a beginner, I do think you should learn how to train to failure and use it for a long time. But the more advanced you get, you can kind of then play around with 0 to 2 reps in reserve, depending on your split for one, that's important, but also just to help with your own recovery because staying 1 rep shy is not going to end the world. You're still going to get a great stimulus. Oh, grip strength. Overrated. Easy. This is another one where people are just saying something that I don't really think they thought about it that much. They're saying that I'm doing a back row and I want to be able to hold it so I keep an even strength with my grip and my back. And this doesn't make sense. They're saying they're training their grip when they're doing a row that should be targeting their back. Your back is way stronger than your grip. That is never going to change. And so you're going to get to the point where you can't hold it anymore. And so you're just going to be stuck at this point where you're using a weight that only you can hold. And so your back isn't even getting that great of a stimulus. This is why we need to be using lifting straps, because it helps us be able to hold it and so we can train our back properly. And this is really helpful. Even with deadlifts or anything super heavy, you're going to need lifting straps to be able to hold it and train the targeted muscle properly. If you do want to train your grip, well, then pick specific exercises for that. So pick wrist curls, pick anything else, or farmer's carries for even that matter, just to train that. But don't worsen your back just because you're saying you want to keep your grip strength. Oh boy, last one, workout programs. Okay, yeah. So honestly, underrated in my opinion. And I say this because people will say that your workout program doesn't matter. It's all in the kitchen, or it's all in the intensity you bring no matter the workout. And I just disagree with this way of thinking, because we can always make a great program or a better program if it's for an individual. It's so hard to make a workout program for 500 people because they're all different. They are all going to be moving different, all going to have different weak points and all this. So I do think you can make a perfect workout program, for anyone. And so that's why I think it's just good to think about that and not just brush it aside saying, oh, it's just everything else I do, I don't need to worry about this. Because usually it ends up the person isn't able to recover and they're not be able to program or progress through their lifts. And that's usually the case. And that's what I've been seeing. And so that's with my clients or with myself. You want to make sure that the program is individualized and it's completely tailored to their own recovery. And that's why it's going to look different for absolutely everyone. But wow, that's it. That's everything. I do hope you really enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. I would love it. I'd love to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of January would be great. But even if it's at the end of February, I would love to just create a community where we can all just learn fitness together and just enjoy what we're doing in our own workouts. So be sure to come back for the next video, and I'll see you in the next.